Are you trying to manage your content for your business as a content creator? Today, we're going to show you the 3-step system that we use to manage all the revenue that we bring in with our content. Welcome to the Conversations on Content. My name is James, and we help you create the skills that you need to be successful as a content creator. And in doing that, one of the things that we have to do is we have to learn how to manage our revenue streams. We need to have to understand, and we've been talking for the last couple of weeks about how we make money through our content. But how you manage that money is just as important as bringing it in. And this is where a lot of content creators fail. Today, we're going to show you some of the pitfalls that people go into as they create content for their YouTube channel, some of the pitfalls they make when money starts coming in, and mistakes that we've made ourselves. And we're going to share with you how the 3-step system that we use to manage our revenue so that we can have a more successful business. For those of you that have been following along, I know I missed my upload this week. I'm working on it. I'm hoping to get it out today. One of the things we've been doing is we got the YouTube Formula by Daryl Eves last week, and I have been reading the book. As part of where I've been this week. Been dealing with some personal issues as well, but I created a video for Monday's upload, and it just did not turn out the way I wanted to do. One of the big takeaways I got from the book is that your quality of content has to be the most important priority on your YouTube channel. And we talk about consistency, and I absolutely believe in trying to keep a upload schedule and trying to be consistent with your content. But I want you to think about when you're starting out, put less emphasis on consistently getting out on that scheduled upload and instead focus on the quality of your content. And this one didn't meet my standards. It didn't read up to the quality that I wanted. So I went back to the drawing board, re-recorded. I'm working on finishing up the edit. I'm hoping I'll have it up either today or tomorrow. And that'll get us kind of back on track as we start moving forward. Good morning, Miss Adrian. I hope you're doing fantastic. We have been having a crazy week, but we're doing okay. We're doing well. We've been busy, but we're doing fine. Hope you're having a great week. I've been absent in the YouTube world very much for most of the week. I know that YouTube put out a new thing for international users on the new tax changes. It all has to do with the fact that they're now counting AdSense revenue as royalty payments. And so the tax situation with royalties internationally is different. And so that's what the new changes are about. They announced back in October when they announced that they were going to be treating revenue as royalties that this change was coming. It's just now they're implementing it and rolling it out. So it's not a big deal. It's just something that's going on. But I wanted to talk about the revenue you make from your YouTube channel today, because this is something a lot of people talk about. You know, we've been talking about how to generate revenue, how to different monetization streams, and different ways that we have brought in income through all of our content, whether it's here on YouTube, blogs and websites, podcasts. You know, you can generate revenue using all these strategies, whatever kind of content you're creating. But what do you do with that revenue when it comes in? This is what a lot of people screw up and they get themselves into trouble. And I did this several years ago. I made a lot of money during one particular affiliate promotion that I did. And I got involved in a product launch. It was a product I believe in. I'm still using that product to this day, 10 years later. So it was a really good product, but it was a $900 product. And I made thousands of dollars in that product for just in commissions, because during the launch itself, now I think they give like a 50% commission. During the launch of the product, I was getting 75% commissions on a $900 product, and I made multiple sales of that product during that product launch. So I was lucky because I was working with the team that created the product. In fact, I was one of the creators of the product. I was doing freelance writing at the time, and I did some of the writing for them. But because of all my involvement with their team, I got a free copy of the product before it was launched. So I was able to actually use the product, actually record some content on the product, and I did really, really well during the product launch because of all of what I had having early access to it. But the downside to it was I made a ton of money and I did not manage that money well. And so I had this huge chunk of revenue, and I did some smart and stupid things at the same time. So the smart side of it was I took a lot of that money and I paid off almost all my debt. That put me in a really, really good personal financial position. On the business side, though, one of the big mistakes is two things. One, I did not set aside money for the government's cut, which meant at the end of the year, I had to come up with that money for the government's cut because they always want their cut. And then two, I did not put any of it back into the business. And so I learned a very, very important lesson in that experience. And I had been doing this all along. See, part of the problem was when I started my online content business, my plan was to take 2 to 3 years to build it up on the side and turn it into something that could replace my income. Then 3 months later, I lost my job. And I had this content business. I was starting to generate some revenue from it, but I didn't know the first thing about what I was doing running a business. I was still learning the fundamentals. I was still learning how to create content. I was learning how to manage my money that I was making for my content. So I made a lot of mistakes early on that cost me later on down the road and caused me to shut down the business for a while. And I don't want you to make the same mistakes. So one of the first things that we did, and I learned this from a friend of mine who ran their own business, it's a revenue model that I adopted from them, and I've done it with all revenue I've made since then, and it works phenomenally well for me. So I use what's called a 3-bucket system. And basically what that bucket system is, if I get money coming in, so say I bring in $90, just to make it a nice round even number for what we're going to talk about. Say I made $90 this month from my YouTube content. I could take that $90 and I divide it into 3 piles. That's why I chose 90, because it divides evenly into 3. You have to do a little bit of math to do this, especially whenever it doesn't work out perfectly like that, because it usually doesn't. But if I have $90, then I'm going to divide it into 3 piles. And pile number 1 is bucket number 1, which is why I chose 3 buckets on my thumbnails. That's a 3-bucket system. So bucket number 1 is going back into the business. That's money that's going to help pay us for services. That's going to help pay for keeping the business going. This is really, really important. Like this business right here, my content business here on YouTube is actually being funded by my reselling business, because this one isn't generating the revenue to be self-sustaining yet. Granted, I only have a few things. It only costs me a few bucks a month because I only have a few services that we're paying for until we get more revenue coming in from our content. But once you start getting there, and my personal opinion on that is any revenue you get initially should go right back into your business, and you can set goals for yourself on what you're going to pocket. For me, anything up to about $300 a month is going directly back into the business 100%. Now, once I get to $300 a month, and again, I chose 300 just because it's an even number for me to divide, I go into 3 buckets. Bucket number 1 is going back into the business. So that means I'm actually only putting $100 a month back into my business at $300 in revenue. Bucket number 2 is taxes. So many people forget to set aside money for taxes. The government is going to get their cut one way or another. You need to make sure you're paying your taxes, putting money aside out of your revenue for taxes. If you're doing products, you also need to know what it is your local sales tax law. Do you need to be charging sales tax and collecting sales tax if you're doing your own products and services? This is something you need to know, because I know a lot of people that are not doing it and getting themselves into some financial trouble when the government comes to get their bill. And then the third pile is what we put in our pocket. That's what we actually take home. So I'm only, I might make $3,000 in revenue, but I'm only actually pocketing $1,000 of it because the other 2/3 are being put back into the business and put aside for taxes. This is something a lot of people get themselves in trouble with because they don't put aside money for taxes, or they just pocket everything and they don't put anything back into the business. I got myself into that mistake myself, and I don't want you to see you making that mistake. So anytime you're generating revenue for your business, whether it's an affiliate sale or if it's, all of your income streams, the way I have mine set up is I have my business operates under a DBA, which is called a doing business as. And this is not legal advice. This is just my personal way of setting it up. I have a DBA filed with my local county and state. And so my DBA is called Life's Hope Media. That's my company that all of my content is produced under. And so Life's Hope Media, which is my company, has its own bank account. It has its own PayPal account. It has its own everything. All the financial, I keep my business finances completely separate from my personal finances. And then I have a budget for the business, and I have my high priorities, my necessities. That's including my website hosting and my web domain registration, which I pay once a year. For me, that includes things like TubeBuddy. TubeBuddy to me is an essential tool. I can't run my business without it. I use it every single day. So I make sure right off the top that's going to get paid. Even if I have to take money out of the other business or out of my pocket, I'm going to pay that bill. Now, sometimes we have things that are optional services. For me, things like StreamYard. I love StreamYard, but if you notice, I'm using the free version of StreamYard right now. I'm not using the paid version, and that's because we decided to cancel it for a month. And the reason why is I felt it was a higher priority for me to buy Daryl Eves' YouTube formula book than to pay my StreamYard bill for the month. I had to choose between the two. So I chose to buy Daryl's book because I think that that's going to help me take my business further faster than that 1 month of not doing with StreamYard. So I'm on the free version of StreamYard for the month. Next month, we should be getting it back turned on. But that's one of the things that we're always looking at is, prioritizing what's the most important for you to spend what money you do have. And you might have to, when you're in the initial stage, I don't know anybody that starts a business that doesn't pull money out of their own pocket to start up their business. Now, the great thing about a content-based business is it's fairly cheap to start. It's one of the lowest cost of entry businesses I've ever seen, but it doesn't mean there's no cost. There is some minimal cost. You're going to have, at a minimum, paying for your own website, paying for your own domain. Hello, Westside Gary. Hope you're doing well. We're talking about money and how to manage the money that comes in for your business, how to divide it up, kind of catching it up to speed. What I do is I have a 3-bucket system that all of my revenue comes into. So when revenue comes in, whether it's through an auction that we did, or if it's an affiliate promotion and we got some sales, or if we do merch sales, any revenue that comes into my business from my content goes into the business bank, and it gets divided into 3 places. So one bucket is going back into the business. The second bucket is paying taxes. And the third bucket is going into that's what we keep. That's what goes into our pocket. Now, for me, I have a goal to get my personal income up to about $5,000 a month, which is more than what we need, but that gives us a little bit of extra wriggle room for extra savings and personal stuff that we want to do. Now, for us, we live in a low income area and a low cost of living area. So $5,000 a month is actually more than we need. When I worked at the prison, I was making less than $3,000 a month. So if I get myself up to making $5,000 a month in personal income from my content, guess what? That means I've actually almost doubled my salary from what I was making at the prison. So this is what I do. So when I can set my goals, now I know I need 3 times that in revenue from the business for me to pay myself what I want. And once I get to that $5,000 a month income, because we can make it on less, and we have other income streams outside of this business as well, that helps us pay our bills and stuff. But I want this revenue stream to be able to cover everything, so that if something happens to those others, I want multiple streams of revenue that could each one sustain me, so that if something happens to one revenue stream, we keep going. I still have the reselling business. The reselling business is separate from my content business. So my eBay sales, my Facebook marketplace sales, that is its own business. It has its own bank account. It has its own DBA. Everything is separate between those businesses. Where it gets complicated is my auctions, because my auctions are content business, and that and the scavenging business. So I actually, the way I have it on paper is the revenue goes into the scavenging business, and I pay the media company for the content. So I'm paying myself. It's weird on paper. So that's how I actually am funding this part, the content business right now, is by paying myself from my auctions and my online content through the storage scavenger. It's kind of complicated and weird, but it's all works out on paper once I straighten it out. And it's kind of a convoluted, complicated way of doing it. But for me, it's been helpful in straightening out. This is content business. This is scavenger business. This is the reselling business, and keeping those separate as well. They each have their own bank accounts. They each have their own DBA. They each have their own EIN number with the government. So everything is separated. The taxes are done separately, and it's all done. Interesting. It's a different way of doing it, and I added that complication. And honestly, we're looking at kind of simplifying how we've structured all that, because I way overcomplicated 2 businesses that are not, sustaining us individually, much less, doing extremely well. And that's one of the things that we've been focusing a lot this year on, drilling down into one business. This is why I decided to run one YouTube channel instead of multiple channels, because each channel was really its own business working independently, and I'm trying to run multiple businesses at once, and none of them were doing really well. One of the things that we looked at is, for each business that we're running, we want to build it up to a point where it's running its own team. So we have a team of people doing the work for us, and that's all about that business revenue. You got to get the revenue up to pay for that team and continue paying yourself and paying your taxes and business expenses. Yeah, I have a CPA that does my taxes for me, and they're the ones that kind of help me with this structure. And that's why we did it. My CPA has been doing our taxes even before we had our own business. He's been working with us for years. And so we were lucky that he's been able to, help me. And we also have a business lawyer. This is really, really helpful. And we get, unless he's actually filing papers or doing some active work for us, if he's just wanting to talk about, the laws and regulations, he does a lot of that for free because he's family. But we don't have to pay him a retainer's fee, which is extremely helpful when I'm in this early stage of my business in being able to do it, because I don't have the income to pay him. I couldn't pay him his hourly fee right now, but eventually we will be able to pay him for his services and his time as well. But it's been extremely helpful in structuring a lot of this stuff, because when I started my first business, I didn't have some of that in place. I didn't have the CPA. I didn't have the accountant. I didn't have a lawyer giving me legal advice. And that's where, he's helped me to understand fair use and copyright law, so that I'm not violating those kind of regulations with my content. That's why I don't do a whole lot of stuff that other people do with music and clips and all this kind of stuff, because I sat down and talked with him a long time about copyright law and what constitutes fair use and what doesn't, and all that kind of stuff, because I wanted to understand it so I didn't get myself in trouble. And that's been extremely helpful. But with the revenue, I want to have money that goes back into the business. That's what's going to pay for our services. That's what's going to pay for all the gear that we have. Every single piece of gear I have right now, even though it's mostly low end gear, it's all stuff that's been bought by the business from revenue we generated from content. It wasn't stuff that we just went out and bought. It was stuff that we have been slowly. Every time we bring in money, we save up money until we get to a point where we have some money for the next piece of gear that we get. The microphone, the boom arms, the lighting, all of the stuff that we use in our studio is all stuff that came from the business. The and sign came out of a storage unit that we got from the scavenging business. The Serenity Prayer hanging on the wall, the whiteboard, all of that stuff either came out of storage units or it's all stuff that we pay for out of business revenue. We did not go out and spend a lot of money on the business. We let the business grow itself. We've reinvested back into the business as we grow. But then the other thing is what we put into our pocket. And this is where I was going just a few minutes ago. One of the things that we've done is we've put a cap. So I said, when I get to a point where I'm bringing in $15,000 a month in revenue from the business, which we're a long way from, I'm going to cap my personal salary at $5,000 a month. So anything above that $5,000 a month that goes into my personal bucket then can go back into the business. That's when we're going to be able to hire other people to do things for us. We're going to be able to take some of that money. I mean, if I'm making $5,000 to $10,000 a month in the business, I'm getting new gear every month. We're paying for services. We're paying an editor to edit for us. I've already found a service where I can get an editor to edit the amount of content I put out. It's going to cost me about $600 to $700 a month for a full-time editor, which is a huge savings for me. So long before I hit that $5,000 mark, I'm probably already going to have an editor editing for me. I'm looking for graphic designers and people to do my thumbnails for me, because I've said a long time, one of my biggest problems is my thumbnails suck. I want to pay somebody that can do better thumbnails faster than I can and do it better, faster, and easier, and get us a better click-through rate than what I can do with mine. My goal with my own skills as a graphic designer is to get by long enough to generate the revenue needed to hire somebody else to do it. It's the first thing I'm going to outsource when I can. This is huge. This is part of that reinvesting back into your business, outsourcing, paying other people to do work for you, because that's going to help you scale your business easier and faster. You're going to be able to put out more content at a faster rate. It's going to be higher quality content because you're hiring people that are better at doing those jobs than you are. I didn't learn any of this from my parents. I learned all this. Everything I'm talking about today, I learned from screwing it up myself and having to pay the price for screwing it up. Everything I'm talking about, I learned by trial and error. Just getting out there, screwing it up. And the one thing you've got to do to be successful in a business as a content creator is to be willing to screw it up so bad you can't see straight and figuring out how to fix it. That's one skill you have to be able to do to be successful as a business. You have to be willing to screw things up so bad you can't see straight and be willing to learn how to fix it. And that's what I'm so stubborn that I will figure out a way to fix it. It might take me a while. It may take me a lot of trial and error. I might go through 100 different things that didn't work before I find the one thing that did. But eventually I will find my way. Sometimes this is why I love listening to the advice of other people. This is why I like sharing advice, and I love sharing my struggles with other people, hoping that by sharing some of this stuff with you, that you can avoid making some of these mistakes yourself. Maybe you can figure out a way to implement some of what we're talking about and avoid some of the struggle and the stress and the trial and error I've gone through. Because most of my lack of success has been because I didn't have somebody teaching me how to do it, and I had to figure it out for myself. 90% of what I've ever accomplished in my life, I accomplished by figuring it out for myself. Yeah, I got some bits and pieces of advice here and there, but mostly it was me just getting in there and doing the grind and figuring it out. And I try to help people avoid that. That's why I do the content that I do. Um, I was taught to find my bills in the trash can. Yeah, that's not always a good strategy either. Those bill collectors don't like it when you file your bills in the trash. We're going to send this all what? File 69. And we don't do that too much. I do believe in paying my bills, but we also prioritize how we're going to pay the bills, especially when money's tight. And this is where people are like, "Oh, I don't make enough money to do a budget." You should have a budget for your personal life, and you should. And I do this because my wife and I went through Dave Ramsey's plan a few years ago. And not only did we go through his Financial Peace University, we got ourselves out of debt, but we also went through his financial coach training to share with other people how to do their own financial plans. And part of that financial coach training was how to financial planning for businesses as well as personal finance. And really it's the same. The difference is, the numbers are different between a business and your personal, but really the process is the same. I have a budget for the business and I have a budget for our personal finances. And we account for every penny coming in every single month before the beginning of the month. And we have what we call our base budget, which is basically this is our base spending. And as our revenue increases for the business, then that budget will expand as to where money's going every month. That's what pays for, that's how we decide what we're going to pay for our services, and what services are the most specific. Now, with this business right now, it's so new and so started. We've only been doing this one for 3 months. But what we're doing is we have the revenue of, we have the services that we have to have. So we have our website hosting, Canva Pro, which is how we use our thumbnails, which we pay for annually, our domain registration, which we pay for annually. But we put that into our business budget because we're putting money aside every month for those annual expenses. And then we're also working on, oh, your brother-in-law works for Dave Ramsey? No. There's things I like about Dave Ramsey and there's things I don't. I don't agree with 100% of his stuff. He does a lot of religious stuff and I'm not into that really side of things, but the strategies he teaches works. My family is debt free except for our mortgage because we followed his plans, because we followed his methods and ways of doing things. And we paid it off much faster. Our original plan was to take 3 to 4 years to get out of debt. And we wound up having our debt paid off and a fully funded emergency fund within 18 months. In fact, that's how I was able to quit my job and go to work for myself full time right before the pandemic started, was because we were out of debt except for our mortgage, and we had a month we had an 8-month emergency fund, which we were able to stretch out with income from the storage scavenger. We still haven't run out completely. We did have to supplement the reselling business a little bit here and there through that emergency fund, but we had that in place. And I can tell you, the peace of mind that you feel having that emergency savings when the world goes into a lockdown on a pandemic is totally different. You're coming from a completely and totally different mental place than the people that have no money in savings and then they lose their income. We were in a completely and totally different place mentally and emotionally, and just the way we felt about our position because we were out of debt and had that emergency fund when the pandemic happened. And so our approach to everything was totally different. It's one of the most peaceful things you can do in your life is to get yourself out of debt and have money set aside for an emergency. Yeah, no, there's been a lot of benefits to it. The biggest problem for a lot of people wasn't saving money. It was the loss of complete and total loss of income. And for us, for us that are, starting businesses and doing content businesses, these kind of businesses have really expanded and exploded during the pandemic. But I see people all the time. I talk to people almost every day who have not had any income for over a year. And even people that were in our position with having a fully funded emergency fund, those emergency funds are running out. They're running out of money, and some of them still. I know people in different parts of the country that are still not back to work, and they've been without an income for over a year. And that emergency fund was not meant to last indefinitely. It was supposed to be there to help you get back on your feet in a crisis, not an ongoing crisis that just lasts forever. So it's not been, a lack of saving money and cutting on the budget. It's been a lack of income to replace what they were spending. And that's kind of, one of the things that we get ourselves into trouble with. We have to balance both sides of the equation. You have to be able to cut. You have to know how to save. Have to know how to budget your money. But the less income you have, the more it's important that you have a budget, that you have a plan, and that you're accounting for where every dollar that comes in goes out. And when you do that, it's kind of difficult to do because it breaks a lot of negative habits. But when we started getting on a budget, and we put our business on a budget, and we put ourselves on a budget, man, it takes a lot of the stress out, because then we already know where money's going to go. We already know what has to be paid, what can be cut. It's already all planned out. Yeah, you have your job, you've got your farmsteading stuff. I don't know if you're generating any revenue from your farm, but you should. And now, as your YouTube channel grows, as your content grows, you should be able to start generating. I mean, you're at a point where you should be generating at least a little bit of revenue from your YouTube channel, maybe not a lot, but you should be able to start generating some affiliate income, get, some occasional merch sales. No income from the farm. That means more work. Oh, okay. Well, you have your honey, and your bees didn't do very well this year because of the weather, but your honey you sell, that's income from the farm. Chicken eggs. A lot of people around here buy farm raised chicken eggs all the time. We have a local farmers market. Income is any money coming in. Now, there's a difference between income and profit. Income is revenue coming in. Profit is what's left over after all the bills are paid. So I'm not saying that $7 is profit. I'm saying it's revenue. It's income. It's money coming into the door. And then you have to figure out your expenses on top of that. And this is all, I'm old school. You can do a lot of this on computers with databases and spreadsheets. I do it on paper. I'm old school. I can sit down and figure out my entire budget on paper and pencil and pad and figure out the entire thing. I try to do it on a spreadsheet, and I get so lost and confused I can't figure out which way's up. But everybody just finds their own way of doing it. For me, I have a list of these are my priorities, my priority spends. Like I said, my website hosting for the business, it's website hosting, domain registration, Canva, TubeBuddy. Those are kind of my priorities. StreamYard is an optional. I love StreamYard. I want to keep it on, but like I said, I had to turn it off for the month because I had to choose between paying for StreamYard or paying for Daryl's book. I chose to pay for Daryl's book, so I had to turn off StreamYard for the month. We'll be getting it back on next month. When you're small, when you're just starting out, and when you're having to, scrape together money to put into your business, you're going to have to make those kind of decisions. As you grow, as you increase your revenue, now you have more wiggle room. This is why I tell people monetization is so important. The sooner you can monetize, the sooner you can start getting some revenue coming in for your content, the more options you have, the more ability you have to better serve yourself, to make it easier on yourself, but you also have more options to better serve your audience. You have more options to be able to do things. You have options to buy better gear to help you create better content. You have options to hire people to help you create better content. So this is why get frustrated with people that think monetizing their content is a bad thing. It's one of the most important things you can do, especially when you're small. And part of it's because I've seen a lot of people that built up a big audience. I know people that have built up 10,000, 15,000 people before they started monetizing their content. And then their audience revolts when they start monetizing because they quote sold out. Well, if you start monetizing from the beginning, if you start monetizing early on as you grow that audience, then by the time you get to that 10,000 people, that 15,000 people, then you're in a position where they're used to seeing the monetization already there. They're used to seeing you putting an ad out. They're used to seeing you do an affiliate promotion every once in a while. And because they're used to it, you don't get this big backlash from the audience. I don't push at this early stage my affiliate links very much. I don't push my services very much. They're out there. I make them available, but I'm not pushing them to try to generate a ton of revenue. But I'm putting them in place so that whenever I do get to that point where I feel more comfortable, I feel like I have a big enough audience to put a little more emphasis on that side of the business, that they're already used to seeing it. It's already been there. It's already things that we're talking about and bringing attention to so that people understand I'm not selling out. This was part of the plan from the beginning. We spend a lot of time. It costs us a lot of money. It costs us a lot of things. And I'm not taking all that out of my family's pocket. I'm sorry. I'm not going to, provide content for you for free and let my family suffer. Part of this is about providing for my family. And it's about finding a balance between you serving your audience, but you also have to serve your own family. And that's where monetization is important. You have to serve your business, you have to serve your family so that you can better serve your audience. It's an important part of the mix. Now it's finding that balance. For me, it's about, you know, 20 to 30% monetization and about 70 to 80% audience right now. I know some people that it's about a 60-40. It's about 60% serving their audience and 40% about the monetization. You've got to find your own balance in that's right for you, but you need to make it enough of a priority that the business at least pays for itself, that the content pays for itself. At the minimum, I think your content should at least be paying for itself, even if you're not pocketing any money, even if you're not running a profitable content strategy. You should at least make it pay for itself and break even. That's the minimum. Oh, so you're just working for yourself. But still, look at how much money you save. Sometimes money saved is just as good as money earned. Look at how much money you save by raising some of that stuff yourself instead of having to. And what you get is probably better quality than what you can buy at the store because it's not filled with all the preservatives and all the crap that they load all their stuff with. You're getting fresh eggs, you got donkeys, you got fresh honey. Honey's expensive. You're making your own. So and yeah, you have to balance the cost of doing the stuff versus the cost of buying it already done for you. And I get that. But some of that stuff, to a degree, you're also saving money by doing it yourself. So you have to take that into account. I'm currently working on something not YouTube related to maybe generate passive income once complete. Well, that's good. I think we should all have diversified revenue streams inside YouTube, outside YouTube, online, offline. We should all have multiple revenue streams. Most successful people in the world have multiple streams of income that are not dependent on any one source. Not only do I think you should have multiple streams of diversity in your YouTube content, I think you should diversify income streams outside of YouTube. Where people get in trouble is when they start trying to diversify too soon and they're not well established in one. This is where focus is important. You want to really establish yourself in one area, one channel, one stream of income, one stream of revenue. Get it well established, get it working for you, and then focus on diversifying, because it's the same way with running multiple YouTube channels. When you're trying to run multiple streams of income and one of them's not established, you're here and there and here and there and all over the place, and nothing's getting the attention that it needs while you're developing the skills, because every revenue stream is forcing you to develop new skills. Doing merch sales is a certain skill set. Doing affiliate marketing, there's some crossovers between all of them. And as you develop the skills in one, you'll be better at doing the others. But there's some individual skills that you need for affiliate revenue that you don't really need for merch sales. There's stuff for creating your own product. There's whole set skills you need for creating and selling your own product that you don't need if you're just doing affiliate revenue. Doing your own services, it requires different skill sets. So you have to develop each one of those revenue streams skill sets, as well as continuing to develop your skills as a content creator. So the more diversified you're trying to be all at one time early on, you're competing with trying to learn too many different skill sets at one time. This is why focus is important, is because you need to focus on developing those skill sets. When you develop competency, I did a video a few months ago on the Inspired Tuber show on skill development and understanding the levels of skill development. When you understand the competency of skill development, you start really listing out all the skills you're developing to do these different things. You're going to realize no wonder you're so freaking overwhelmed, because you're trying to learn too many skills at one time. That's what's getting overwhelming. That's what's getting people in a grind. And that's what's stopping people from being successful, because they're trying to master too many skills at once. You've got to slow it down. Focus on one or two things, develop those skills, then move on to the next one. I didn't monetize this channel. I've had some monetization on this channel from day one, but I haven't been really focused on the monetization because I've been focusing on my video production skills. I've been focusing on my content creation skill sets. I'm kind of getting more comfortable with that. I'm making some progress. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm making progress on that. So now we're starting to introduce some of the monetization skill sets and starting to focus on some of those. This is where we have that profit formula. You got to have traffic. Traffic means the leads for your profit formula. The leads are your traffic, the views coming, and the views that are actually getting to your ad. Because if you think about it, if you put an ad in your video and it's in the last 5 minutes of the video, but you're losing 60% of your people that are viewing your video before they get to that ad, that means your views on that ad is not the same as the views on your video. So the leads that are actually seeing that ad may be much less than the actual view count on your video. If you put it at the end of the video, if you put it close to the beginning of the video, which is where most people do, that's why a lot of them do it, because they want to get it in there before that drop off. But if you're doing that, you also tend to get more drop off when that ad plays. So it's a balancing act. This is where you have pre-roll ads, post-roll ads, mid-roll ads, and different people place different ads in different places in their videos, because they're looking at the traffic, they're looking at the leads, they're looking at the impressions of that ad, how many people are actually seeing that ad placement. And this depends, it doesn't matter what your monetization model is on that, but then you have your conversion rate, and you have to learn how to get people to convert. You can show an affiliate offer to people, and some of you know this, I have affiliate links in a lot of my content, but they don't get a lot of conversions because I'm having to work on my conversion strategy. And how to convert YouTube video viewers is different than how to convert podcast listeners, and it's different than how to convert blog readers. Different types of people, different audiences of people are going to have different strategies to get them converting to sales. And that's a process I have to learn. Even changing niches, sometimes the different audience from a different niche will convert in different ways, and you have to learn the strategies for the specific niche that you're in. Now there's some generalities, just like we have some best practices when we do channel reviews that we go through when we're looking at other people's YouTube channels. When you're looking at sales, when you're looking at generating revenue, there's some best practices, but there's some things that are going to be niche specific. And you need to really understand your audience, your core niche. And some of it takes some trial and error and practicing different ways of presenting the sales offer, different different ways of presenting the product, whether it's your own product or somebody else's product or a merch drop. You have to figure out how to present it to your audience in a way that's going to convert to sales. And that's what's going to determine your revenue. Your leads and your conversion rate are really the two most important parts of the conversion formula. Hey, Matt. And that's what's going to determine how much money you're making through your channel. So as you, and the reason I'm bringing that up is because this is about skills. You have to develop the skills to generate leads. You have to generate the skills to generate conversions. And then you can work on the number of dollars per sale by adjusting your price points, by maybe promoting a more expensive product or creating a more expensive product. That's going to adjust your dollars per sale that you make in your conversion formula. And then how much are you spending to create that? How much are you putting back into the business? That's where the money that it cost of production. How much did it cost you to hire somebody to edit, to create that thumbnail? To what tools and services did you have to use to create that product? What gear did you have to use, and what did the cost of that gear? That all goes into the profit formula, because the profit formula is what's left over after all expenses are paid. And that's where a lot of people screw up. A lot of people don't understand the difference between revenue and profit. Revenue is what your content brings in. Profit is what's left over after all your expenses are paid. And sometimes that is in the negative because it costs you more to produce than what you brought in. And sometimes it's in the positive, and that's when you have profit. When it's in the positive, when it costs you less to make than what you spent to make it, that's profit. And then you also have to look at cumulative profit. In other words, I might have made a profit this month because of what I spent this month, but am I looking cumulatively over the last 6 months? This is what I spent on 6 months of not bringing in any revenue, and I have to take that into account before my channel's profitable. So I have to recuperate everything I spent to get my channel to making money, and everything I spent on my channel up to that point has to be factored in before I realize actual profit in the channel. And that's something a lot of people don't do. It's all a numbers game. That's another thing. You have to realize taking all the emotion and all the feeling out of it, at the end of the day, running a profitable channel is all about numbers. It's all a mathematical formula. And you just have to learn how to do the math. And most people don't want to do the math. They just want to, go by gut feelings instead of doing the numbers. Data driven decisions. One of the big themes in Daryl Ease's book, making data driven decisions instead of emotional decisions about your channel, about your monetization strategy, about how to connect with people. You want to have that emotional connection. Absolutely, is essential. But you need to know the data. You need to know what's going to convert. You got to know how to convert people to sales. You have to know, and it's all about understanding the numbers. It's all about understanding the numbers and knowing how to make the numbers and how to figure out what you do to create the numbers. So it's an emotional thing and it's a connection thing, but it's also a numbers game. Everything is a balance of the two. So you have to decide which one is more important to you right in this moment, not forever. What's most important to you right now? What's most important to you in this moment? Is it building the audience? Is it building that relationship with your audience? Is it converting people into a sale? If that's important, if that's more important than the relationship, then you're going to put more emphasis on the monetization. If that relationship is more important to you, you're going to put more importance on building that relationship with your audience. Now, I know from personal experience that by building that relationship, later on, it's going to have a higher chance of turning into conversions and sales. I know that. It's part of the formula that I personally use. And yes, it's something that I do to provide for my family, but it's also because I care about those damn relationships. I care about the people on the other end. That's why I only promote a product that I personally recommend and use myself, because I want to make sure that what I'm doing is helpful for you. My number one goal with YouTube and with my content is not to make revenue for my family. That is a benefit of doing content. It's a benefit of doing my job well. But my number one goal is to help you be successful as a content creator. That's got to be my number one priority. I do everything the way you're not supposed to. I do a lot of things the way I'm not supposed to, and I don't ever trust somebody says, and the reason why is because early on in my career, I started in content in 2008, and back then we used to build these article websites, and we used to use all of these article directories and other places to get links to our site, because Google's number one way of ranking a website back then was the number of links coming to your site. So there was all these spam methods that we used to create links to my site, and I was a total newbie. I didn't really understand what I was doing at the time. I was just following the leader. I was doing what other people were telling me to do. One of the things I found in my own testing early on was that whenever I would post to places like Facebook, or at the time Stumble Upon, which was a kind of a early adoption of a social media site, or MySpace, because this was in the latter days of MySpace and early days of Facebook, Twitter. When I was there on these social media sites and I was engaging with the people that were relevant to my niche on those sites, and then I would share my content on those sites, I would get a lot more views. I would get sales. I would get people coming to check out my stuff. And I went and I was talking about this in some of the user forums that I was involved in. And I was told by other professional marketers that I was doing it wrong, and that there's no way that you would ever be able to use social media to promote your business. This was in 2008 and 2009. And so I stopped using social media to promote my business, because these people that knew better than I didn't matter that I was actually getting results. I was paying more attention to the fact, because I was trying to please everybody and I was trying to please them. And my mindset was not where it needed to be. But I listened to their advice instead of my results. And so I stopped promoting my stuff on social media. And I just went to using these spam methods that they were telling me to use. Guess what? In 2012, all of those sites that I did that on completely and totally decimated. The few sites that survived were the ones that I had done social media promotion on and hadn't done all that spam link building methods on. Nowadays, if you're not promoting your channels, if you're not promoting yourself on social media, you're dead in the water, because everybody that's big got there by promoting on social media. But back in 2009, 2010, it was unheard of. It was a way of doing business that everybody said doesn't work. So sometimes you have to follow your own instincts in doing what you think is right, even if everybody else says it's wrong. That's where I was going with that. You want to follow your own intuition and follow your own instincts in what you think is the right way to promote your channel. Because sometimes I've had people since day one telling me that networking is not. I've seen people that, oh, collaborations are a great just way to hang out with your friends. You know what I'm talking about. We've been through these live streams where people talk about, collaborations are something that you should do with your friends, but it's not a way to grow your channel. Every single channel I've grown through collaborations. I haven't grown through search rankings. I haven't been growing through recommended content. I do that later as I start getting content, as YouTube starts figuring out who my audience is. It starts happening. I'm still getting traffic right now to the Storage Scavenger, and a lot of it's coming through recommended and suggested search, suggested content, because I haven't posted on there in 4 months. But I didn't start there. Most of my first 700 subscribers I got through getting out and networking with people. Now, networking done properly is a great way to grow your channel. Networking done the the fake way, which is doing the sub for sub, everybody support everybody. That's not what I'm calling networking. It's networking for me is about getting in front of the audience and talking to people. But that's how you get out there and you build those relationships and you get people to come. Most of you that are coming here have gotten here because of me networking. 80% of the subscribers I have on this channel right now came from me getting out and networking, talking to people, getting on somebody else's live stream, hanging out in other people's live streams and answering questions. That's how I built this channel, not through SEO. I get very little search traffic on this channel. I get very little suggested search traffic on this channel. I know that's going to grow as YouTube really figures out who my audience is, but I'm not getting that yet. I'm getting most of my traffic from getting out and talking to people, not sitting around waiting for YouTube to send them to me. That's why a lot of people sit around for months and months and months and don't grow because they're waiting for YouTube to do all the work. Yep, that's what you got to do. Yeah, you can do it that way. You got to figure out the structure that works best for you and your business. I set mine up as two separate businesses with the reselling stuff. So all of my eBay stuff is set up as its own business. On my reselling, Facebook Marketplace, Mercari, all those sales are their own business. And then I have my content business, which is my media company. That's just the way I decided to structure it. But you can set it all up under one business and just run one business too. I know people that structure it that way and do it that way. And then that just gets into corporate structures and business structures and figuring out what you want to do. Like one of the things my plan is I want to get things built up a little bit more, but part of my plan is my Life's Hope Media company. I'm going to form an LLC, which is a limited liability corporation, for tax purposes and for family liability. It protects my family from liability from the business, even though I don't really feel like it's going to be a huge issue. It's just something I want to do for tax purposes and legal issues later on down the line, as we continue to grow. But I'm not in a position to do that. I don't think it's something you have to do very early on. In fact, I've talked to companies that online content creators who didn't do that for like the first 10 years of their business, and they were making over $100,000 a year before they ever went to that level of setting that kind of stuff up. So it's nothing I'm in a rush to do, but it's in my eventual plans to set up an LLC for Life's Hope Media and all of my online content. Because see, I'm doing some other content too. I'm working on rebuilding some of my old websites under new branding and new kind of, but using some of the old content that I've been able to recover from some of my old websites because I own the copyright on all of it. I can republish it if I want to. And then doing some more stuff I'm doing, and I'm focused a lot right now. It's part of where I've been this week too. I haven't been posting content on here. I've been writing a lot, and a lot of it's on more of my existential stuff, enlightenment, self-awareness, law of attraction, that kind of stuff. I have a whole website that I'm currently building on that. I have an ebook that I'm writing on that we're going to sell. It's another revenue stream that we're putting into place, and I'm hoping it's kind of going to be a self-generating passive income stream. So I'm going to have my own ebook. I'm going to be selling as an affiliate several other people's ebooks and several products and courses that I've been through myself as I'm learning how to do all this stuff and learning how to live within that way of doing things. And I'm going to be promoting some of that through my Inspired Tour show, because that's what that show is really about, is how I incorporate those principles and that way of thinking, that way of believing, and how I incorporate that into my content. That's what the entire Inspired Tuber show is about. And so that's one of the revenue streams that I'm going to do is, as I get that stuff set up, I'm going to be promoting some of that stuff through the Inspired Tuber show. And then I kind of become my own sponsor for the channel, for for that show. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you have to back off and just do minimal content. Like I said, one of the big things that I learned from Daryl's book is, putting quality ahead of quantity, even above consistency. If I have the choice between keeping my upload schedule or putting out a crappy video, or scrapping a video because it didn't meet my quality standards and going for the quality, even if I miss an upload, I chose to scrap the video because the video I made for Monday didn't work out. It was good, but it wasn't where I needed it to be. It wasn't meeting my standards of what I wanted my video to be. And part of it is because one of my biggest goals, and especially after reading his book, one of my biggest goals is to increase watch time. That's my number one focus. Am I going to keep people's attention? And when I watched that video, I didn't feel like it was going to keep people's attention. I felt like I was going to be losing people. So I went back to the drawing board. I re-recorded the whole video. I'm hoping to get it out either later today or tomorrow. But I would rather miss my upload schedule and get off on my consistency and maintain quality. That's one of the biggest takeaways I got, because that quality, I can get more views, I can get more watch time. The consistency, if people are consistently seeing bad content, they're going to consistently stop showing up for my content. I would rather, especially as an early creator, when you're a small channel, back off of the consistency and focus on quality creating. And I've seen so many channels that have done this. I see channels that when they first start, they might post once every 2 weeks or once every month while they're learning those skills and building their quality. Building their focus isn't on getting a consistent schedule. It's about building their quality, building the quality of their content. And if you can do that, and if you want to do that with your content, I think you're going to stand a better chance once you get your standards in place, you start getting your quality up, then you start getting yourself focused on consistency. And I've seen a lot of channels do this. They might spend a year, 2 years, 3 years building those skills, and they post like maybe once every couple of weeks or once every couple of months. And then they've honed those skills during that time, and then they start posting consistently. They've already got this core base of content that's better quality because they actually focused on quality instead of quantity. And so they get this core base of content that's quality, and then they start getting consistent and they blow up really, really fast. I've seen other people that try to maintain consistency, but they don't focus on their quality, and it takes them forever to grow. Put quality first, then consistency. I think consistency is important, but you need to put quality ahead of consistency in your priorities. It happens. I would rather upload quality and miss an upload. That's what I did this week. That's why you haven't seen a video from me this week. That's why I didn't do the Inspired Tuber show this week. One, I was writing and reading all week. We were dealing with some personal issues. Sometimes you're just not in the emotional state to record a good video because you're dealing with something outside of YouTube. Jessica and I had some family issues happen earlier this week that put me out of sorts, and I wasn't in the right mood and mindset to bring the quality of video that I wanted to bring to you guys. So I didn't do it. I just took a break, took some time, dealt with family issues, dealt with myself, got myself back to where I needed to be, got my video recorded, and I'm working on finishing up the edit. I would rather do that and miss an upload. I've missed a week's worth of uploads, 2 weeks worth of uploads. Post when you can, but post quality. Quality is the number one most, because the number one most important factor to your video getting more views and being more successful is watch time, not click through rate. Watch time. Click through rate's number two. It's up there. It's important. Watch time is the number one most important factor on YouTube for getting more views on your video. The number one most important factor is your watch time. So if you're not engaging people, if you're not keeping people watching, that's why you're not growing. That's something I've been looking at because I've been prioritizing click-through rate over watch time, and I'm turning that around. I have got to focus on getting more watch time, not click-through rate. Click-through rate's important. It's number 2 on the list, but watch time is most important. So quality always has to treat consistency. Number 2 is consistency. Consistency has to be high on the priorities, but quality and keeping viewers' attention has to be number 1. Telling a good story, getting people engaged, getting people leaving you feedback, all of those engagement. I would prioritize watch time first. Second would be click-through rate on your thumbnail. And third would be engagement on the actual content. That's how I would prioritize what's most important. And if you can get those 3 things and you can then get it where you can keep that consistent upload schedule, then keep that consistent upload schedule as much as you possibly can. I absolutely believe you're going to grow faster and better if you're consistent in bringing new content, because you can get lots of views, but if you're not posting consistently, you won't get subscribers. You won't get those loyal fans that come back to watch you time and time again. You can get lots of views, but you won't build the audience. Consistency is what's going to keep them coming back for more. That's when you're really good at your consistency and your quality. That's when, if you do miss an upload, you're going to have people. I had people Monday this week, and I don't have that much of a following. I had people on Monday afternoon emailing me, asking me if I was okay, sending me messages on Facebook saying, "You haven't uploaded yet. Is everything okay?" I was like, yeah, my video didn't meet the quality standards, so I'm redoing it. But if you miss an upload and you've got people's attention, you've got people engaging, you that know when you upload, that's where consistency. That means you're making a connection with people. If you're getting those messages from people, it wasn't a whole lot, it was a handful of people. But if you're getting those messages from people when you miss an upload, that tells me that you're making a connection with people and they're looking forward to your content. If you miss a live stream, you have a weekly show that you do every week, and you miss a show and people start messaging you wanting to know if you're okay because you missed one show. When I disappeared on the storage scavenger, I had been building my audience and I had over 500 subscribers. I was gone 4 months before anybody noticed I was gone. Before anybody reached out to me and said, "Hey, are you okay? We haven't seen you in a while." I was gone for 4 months. On this channel, I'm building that audience. I was gone for 1 day and people are emailing me, "Are you okay?" There's a difference in that relationship. Because I missed one upload. Versus I missed 4 months worth of uploads before anybody bothered to care that I was missing over there when I first started. Because my quality, my connection with the audience, all those things, that's where the difference was. It's not because, and some of those people are people that are now following me from over there. There's some people that have been following me from back then that are following me over here now. And we have that kind of a relationship. But yeah, that's what you want to build. That's what you really want to build. You want to build that kind of relationship with the people in your audience, where if you miss an upload, they want to make sure you're okay. Instead of missing 4 months worth of uploads. Hello, Amber. Hope you and Mike are doing well. And this is, since I got two of my favorite YouTubers here in the crowd, and this is something I've been thinking about this week. Jessica and I were talking about her starting her own YouTube channel. And here's my thought on it. And she doesn't like my thought on it, but this is my opinion. And I have two of my favorite people here, and this is going to hit kind of close to home. Now, if you have two people that are starting two separate YouTube channels in two separate niches that are a couple, I would recommend focusing on maybe working together to build one channel instead of two separate channels, even if they're two separate niches. while you learn the game, while you get it going, get one off the ground and then start a second one. It's again a focus. If you take a team of Clydesdales, you take two Clydesdales and put them behind a car. So you have one pulling a cart and you have another one pulling a cart. They can kind of trudge along together and learn, but they're both kind of having struggles. They might both get winded. They have to stop every once in a while. You take those same two Clydesdales playing two separate carts and you put them together on one cart, it doesn't double the amount of pulling power you have, it quadruples it. It exponentially grows faster and easier because you have a team working in concert together to grow, to pull that cart. Your YouTube channels can be the same way. If you have two separate individuals building two separate YouTube channels in the same niche, you're working against each other instead of working in concert together. You want to work together as a team, build one channel that you can both work on together in collaboration with each other and both go in the same direction. And you can do amazing things and you can get there 4 times faster. That's just my opinion. You can do what you want. I'm just saying this is one of the things I've seen some people who happen to be in the chat doing. And I love you. And it's your channel. You can do whatever you want. I just think you were noticed. Hello, Jennifer. I'm not saying nobody noticed I was gone for 4 months. I was gone for 4 months before anybody reached out to me to see if I was okay. Sometimes you have to be willing to share. That's what a marriage is. You have to be willing to share and work together. And I'm just saying, when you work together as a couple, you can do 4 times, 5 times more than you can as a two individuals working against each other. Yes, to a degree. But think about it, if you're both building your audiences and you combine those audiences into one, that expands your audience ability. Again, it's up to you how to do it, what you want to do. But I've seen a lot of husband and wife teams running their YouTube channel as a co-creative experience. And sometimes they even run multiple channels in different niches, and one of them's kind of the primary on one channel and the other one's a primary on the other channel, but they work together to build it. They work together. One of them works on the front end, being the person on camera, and the other one is working behind the scenes, but they work together in concert. Um, to do that. Benji Travis and his wife are a great example of that. She helps him with his channel and he helps her with her channel. They both have channels with over 1 million subscribers because they worked together as a team instead of as two individuals working on their own projects. Yeah. But he now has his own channel in the same niche. And I'm just saying y'all could collaborate together. And collaboration doesn't mean that y'all have to do it, every video is both of y'all. Like, one of you could be on screen this video and doing the other one while the other one's kind of helping do more of the behind the scenes, maybe helping with getting the shots, maybe giving some suggestions on different lighting or different shot ideas. And whenever you start working together, you start shoring up each other's strengths and covering each other's weaknesses, enhancing each other's strengths and covering up each other's weaknesses. That's the power of a team. That's the power of, and a marriage should be a team working in concert together to bring about common goals. If you're not doing that in your marriage, that's a problem in your marriage. The problem in my marriage. It's a problem we all go through. It's okay. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's something that you might want to consider. Yeah, you have to, but see, the more on the same page you are, I can tell you, we went through this a few years ago when we were doing Dave Ramsey's plan, and we one of the things that we had to do was work together to get a budget because we had completely different mindsets of what's right and wrong as far as where our money went. Um, when we started doing a monthly budget and we started getting on the same page of where our money went, that's how we went from we had a 3 to 4 year plan to pay off our debt. And not only did we pay off our debt, but we had a fully funded emergency fund in 18 months. 18 months to complete a 4 year plan because we worked together in concert to do it. We had to make sacrifices along the way, but we also had other things. When we start working in concert together, things just flow and things start flowing to us from outside sources that we had no freaking idea where it was coming from. It just magically kind of happened. Well, I understand. And you do need to have some separation time. You gotta have. She has her hobbies, her ways of things that she does. She's doing a lot of children's books and stuff right now. She's writing some of that kind of stuff, and she wants to kind of start sharing some of her children's stories. Part of my issue with her starting her YouTube channel is her target audience is not a good audience to target on YouTube right now because of COPA. I do encourage her to be creative on her own. I just want her to do it in a way that's beneficial to everybody. And I want it, it's something that we're working on together and we're working out how we're going to do it. But again, her niche is different than my niche too, anyway. We should each be creative in our own way. But if you're doing the same kind of creative thing, then working in concert can be beneficial to both of you. It's a different kind of mindset and philosophy that's not common in today's culture, but I never fit in with today's culture. So how's everybody else doing? Going well, I hope. So for those of y'all that missed the first part of the show for about the first 30 or 45 minutes, we were talking about actually financial planning for our business. We kind of got off topic and went into other strategies and other things. But we're talking about, how to divide up your income. So I really recommend you go back and check out the replay for those of y'all that came in late. So anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us today. I got some other work to do. I need to try to get my edit finished, and I got about an hour before I got to go pick up Jesse from school. Next week is going to be a little chaotic. I'm going to try to get my video done before we leave, but we're going actually to Dallas again for Emily. She's got 2 more doctor's appointments to get her cleared for surgery. Tentative surgery date is May 18th, as long as these appointments go well. And so we're going to be in Dallas for a few days. We're leaving Monday and we'll be back on Thursday. So I will definitely be back in time for next Friday's show. I'm not sure if I'm going to have a good enough internet connection to do Wednesday's show from Dallas, but we're going to try. We are actually looking at some other stuff as well, trying to get a laptop. And if we can get it, I may be able to take it and use it from the hotel room instead of having to try to do it on my phone like I did last time. Last time I just couldn't get a stable enough internet connection on my phone to try to go live. So that's why we didn't do our live stream last time we were on a trip. But we're looking at May 18th or May 13th for Emily's surgery. And we got some content, not next week, but the week after next. We're actually going to get a look at my life as a content creator with a special needs child, because the week after next is Holoprosencephaly Awareness Week, which is the disability that my daughter has. So we're going to be talking about holoprosencephaly, how it affects me as a content creator, and how it affects us as a family. And part of why we started the content business to begin with or got back into it. So we will be going over that over the next couple of weeks. Y'all have a fantastic day. And if you have any more questions about financial planning for your business, leave me a comment and make sure you give us a thumbs up on your way out. We love you guys. We'll see you next time. Conversations on content. Have a great